So it's August, and what that means for us teachers is that it's time to start getting in the mindset of heading back to school. And as we start thinking about heading back to school, we need to be curious about what we're going to be teaching our students this year, but also what we are going to be teaching ourselves. Students aren't the only ones that are going to be learning and growing in our classrooms this year. We as professionals should continue to learn and grow each and every year. The first thing I'm going to talk about today are expectations and procedures. So when we think about going back to school, expectations and procedures, we need to start day one with these. Expectations and procedures around entering the classroom, exiting the classroom. These are really, really important that we think through these before students get to our classroom. That way we have a solid idea of how we want our classes to begin and end. For example, when students come into our rooms, we should be by our door, actually greeting our students, shaking their hand. You may have seen some of those videos on Facebook or on Instagram of the teachers that have all the different handshakes with all the different students. So with entry and exit procedures, when we set them up, we actually explicitly show our students what it looks, sounds, and feels like, which means we actually walk through the entry and exit procedures with them, we model it for them, and then we allow them to go through it themselves. So having them reline up outside of your classroom and practicing shaking your hand. And after they do that, have them sit in their seats and then try it over again. Keep doing it again and again and again until you get 100% of your students entering and exiting your classroom the proper way 100% of the time. Other expectations that we want to make sure that we talk about with our students on day one is how we treat each other and how we treat the space that we are in. So for example, your expectations and rules should be posted and visible in your classroom. My expectations were posted in the very front of the room. That way, if a student was not meeting my expectations, I could kind of make that quiet eye contact, that teacher look, and point to the expectation, and we just kind of had that silent moment, and then we were able to move on. When we're creating our expectations, it's also important to ensure that we are telling kids what to do instead of what not to do. Instead of saying, don't yell, use a level 2 voice. Now, if we say a level 2 voice, it's also important that we model what a level 2 voice looks, sounds, and feels like. So, all of these rules and expectations that you set, practice them the first week of school, continue embedding them week 2, week 3, but that doesn't mean that if they get it at the beginning of the year, you don't have to continue going back to those expectations and remodeling and reteaching what those expectations are.